Hey everybody, how are you guys doing? We are joining you here tonight with a new version of live
Yeah,
conversation.
dude. Live conversations. We're excited about it. This is big time. Randy, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Just trying to
Good.
keep my family in line and trying to keep my sanity.
Your lighting is awesome. You
Thank
look
you.
you look like an angel.
I worked really hard to make sure this is perfect.
You
So
look like an angel.
your lighting's pretty good too. Hey, David, before we get started with our conversation, we've got uh, a fun conversation lined up. But David, how has life been since you became a TikTok star?
Dude, life's just the paparazzi's been blowing up my
I bet.
TikTok. I'm just kidding. I had deleted TikTok already off my phone. They kept
It's,
sending notifications. And I was like, no, dude, I'm done. But we're all
dude,
together, Andy.
the world is waiting for the next TikTok video from David.
Well, hopefully they'll just have to wait forever. So, and
Gotcha.
needs to see more of that. You know what I mean? That was tough.
Gotcha.
Hey, dude, you ready to bring in our
Yeah,
special guest?
this isn't about us. This is about our special guest. And so, yeah, if you're ready, let's go ahead and bring on our special guest. Should I say our guest's name or just?
No way, dude. Just let her show up.
Okay, here we go. Let's bring her.
Yeah. I almost said her name.
Oh man.
Just waiting on her.
Allie.
Allie, turn your mute off.
Oh, hi!
How's it
Oh
going?
my gosh. Guys, you
How
would
you doing
think that
today?
using this every day, I would know how to keep it from being muted, but I don't.
That's
Fine.
okay. That's okay.
okay.
How you doing?
Hey, we learn new things every day, so that's no big deal.
Yeah, exactly. I've learned that I go into every meeting prepared to be muted, apparently.
Exactly right. Well, hey, Allie, we're doing this thing. We're calling it Live Conversations. This is for our students here at the North Campus. And some of them might know you, but not all of them. So go ahead, just tell us about yourself. Tell us who you are, where you're from, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so I am from Houston. I have lived here for my whole life, other than when I was in college at Baylor. And so I grew up here, and I have an older brother who is 2 years older than me, and a younger sister who is 5 years younger than me. And yeah, we lived all throughout like Humboldt, Atascocita, Kingwood area growing up. And so, I know this area like the back of my hand, basically. So yeah.
Where did you go to high school at, Allie?
I went to Kingwood Park High School.
Okay, Park.
And yes, K Park, and actually started going to the North Campus the end of my freshman year, beginning of sophomore year of high school. And so when people ask what church I grew up as my church home.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's awesome.
How did you get plugged in at Second? Was it like a friend invited you, or you were like, "Man, I got to come check out Fall Riot"? How did that work?
Yeah, actually my brother invited me. So he had a friend who invited him and kind of started going. And it's funny now that I look back, because he went for a good chunk of time before inviting me. And I'm like, I guess he was just like making sure that it was all good before he wanted to like invite his younger sister to come. But yeah, he invited me. I showed up, and this was when we still did Bible study, where you like worshiped in the gym and then you went and sat in rows and then someone spoke. And so that was a little bit weird and awkward at first, because I was like, all I know is my brother, and everyone thought we were dating because this boy just brings a girl to church with him. And so yeah, so that's how I ended up at Second, and basically I just never left.
That's so funny. It's so funny that somebody would confuse you guys for dating, because some of the high school team gives me a hard time, because I've gone up to people before and said, "So are you guys friends or
Yes,
siblings?" I
yeah.
make it really awkward.
That's so
That
Yes.
happened to you?
Oh,
Was
yeah.
somebody like, "So what's the deal here?"
Yes, yeah. I mean, the Phyllis, she was my table group leader.
Yeah.
And the first couple of times I was there and got to know her, she thought he was my boyfriend for like a month. And one day he had gone to get donuts and came back and gave me some. And she kind of mentioned it like, oh, your boyfriend. And I was like, no, that's my brother. Like,
oh my goodness. This
and
wasn't
so,
like this.
yeah.
This wasn't like the first
No.
visit. This is like the month goes by.
Yeah.
Do you give her a hard time for that? She gives me
No.
So how I met Phyllis Tatum. My first live ever, they put me on stage and I was throwing Capri Suns off stage for whatever reason.
Oh my gosh.
Phyllis in the face, and she has never let me forget it. And every time I see her, she's like ducks. So
oh my gosh,
because she gives me a hard time.
No, I do not give Phyllis a hard time. I guess just because it's kind of normal. I am like, okay, whatever, it happens. Let's move on. But so that's
crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is a real that's a funny moment. But I am curious. So you grew up in second student ministry all of high school. So I am curious to know, like, is there what is the funniest moment that you can think of, like, as a student in second students ministry? What's like the funniest moment that kind of comes to mind when you look back on your time in our ministry?
I would say one of the, not necessarily funny, but one of the most memorable moments was one year I went to sixth grade camp as a leader, and I was in a cabin with the one and only Donica. Okay. And as you know, most of the time her birthday is that week of sixth grade camp. And so Wednesday morning is Donica's birthday, and I'm pumped. It's going to be a great day. It's going to be super fun. And I'm on the bottom bunk on one end of the room. Donica's on the bottom on the other end. And I wake up and it's like 5 a.m. to the girl above me dry heaving over the bed. And I felt so bad, but my initial thought was not to help her. I rolled into the bed and just kind of clung to the wall and was like, if this is real throw up, we are not handling this. And I think there ended up being like a small amount of throw up that kind of made it over. But Donica came, she's the best. She cleaned it up, did everything. And then we went out of the condo and just kind of sat, and it was like, well, happy birthday.
It was that you knew you wanted to work in student ministry, right there.
Yes, that moment I was like, I'm all in. Yes, 100%.
Dude, that is sixth grade camp right there. Things like that happen at sixth grade.
Yes.
Here's what I'm wondering. Are you the kind of person that when people start throwing up, are you going to is it going to be a chain reaction? Because you
No, I'm not a also throw up person, but when people start throwing up, my immediate response is kind of just it's like watching an animal in the wild. I can't look away. But then once it's over, I'm like, okay, bye. And I don't want to be a part of any of the process. I don't want to help clean up. I don't want to get you Sprite or crackers. I'm done. Once it's over, I'm out.
For the show though, for sure. But yeah, here for the show, just not the cleaning up.
Yes, exactly.
That's so good.
I get it. I'm for sure a sympathy puker. That's if that's a thing. No, that's me. If I see somebody, it's
that's crazy. That's the most memorable. I was hoping having you on, we'd get some
dirt on Jay Gray.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping.
Yeah.
Some dirt on Jay Gray, coming in and I don't know, doing something embarrassing that he never told us you saw.
I mean,
man.
Not that I can remember. I guess he's always at least
clean.
Kind of had it together. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know.
One day
One day.
One day. All right. Hey, Allie, just tell us, what's God teaching you right now?
Yeah. So right now with everything that's going on, I think the biggest thing God is teaching me is the power of prayer. And I'm actually reading a book called The Circle Maker. And he talks about kind of praying circles around your dreams and desires and hopes and all of these different things in your life. And just kind of seeing how God is faithful in those prayers and what that looks like. And so prayer is something that's very hard for me. I start praying and then I think about the groceries, or I think about, like, I trigger a word and then I think about a funny joke I heard back in like 2007, or like I just cannot stay on track. And so through this extended time of being at home, it's been nice to be able to be like, okay, I can pray and like be able to sit with God. And it's kind of nice to know, like, okay, I got off track for 15 minutes. I have time to come back because there's really nothing else to do. Like, I can come back to that prayer. But learning that, and then just learning and being reminded that God is our provider and that he wants to provide in every situation and in every season, and for all of our needs, not just like physical or financial or different things like that, but he wants to provide in all areas of our lives. And so I think that's been kind of really big for me right now, where, you know, it seems kind of uncertain what's happening and everything's a little bit crazy, and it's super easy to just, for me especially, just kind of run and be like, okay, God, I'll check back in with you in like a month when all this is over and we'll be good. But like really pressing in this season where I have extended amount of time to grow and learn with him.
Yeah. You know, the prayer is such a powerful thing, and it's kind of interesting now. It's like we have so much time to pray, but you know, if we're not intentional about it, it is interesting how it can get lost when we're not intentional about spending time with God. Just curious, you know, praying and going through the circle maker, have you noticed, like, have there been any prayers yet? I know sometimes prayer is a process of waiting for God to move and God to answer and do something incredible. But I'm just curious, like, even in your time right now reading through the circle maker, have you noticed God, has he answered anything yet that you just stepped back and thought, oh, wow, like that's amazing. Has he done anything like that yet through the book time so far?
Yeah, so I've seen a lot of just, I guess, insecurities in my own life kind of be broken in that, and a lot of personal breakthrough just with this time of being like, okay, God, these are all of these things that I want to kind of circle in prayer. And in the book, the author talks about like praying through and basically praying continually and consistently until there's breakthrough and until something happens. And so I think that's been big too, just seeing that like in this process you're supposed to keep praying until you see God move. Like, it's not, oh, I prayed every day for a week and God didn't move, so now I'm dumping that prayer and picking up a new one. But being consistent with that, and like, even one of the things was I wanted to kind of grow my prayer life in this. And so just seeing how that has really grown in praying.
Yeah. And that's such a good word. I mean, we do have to be persistent. There's things that, you know, sometimes we spend years praying for and just asking God to move, and we're patiently waiting in faith for him to do something. And that in itself is a aspect of faith, is continuing to pray even in the midst of waiting and just trusting God. And that can be such a challenging thing sometimes, but a great demonstration of our faith. That's really cool. So would you recommend that book to other people? Have you been blessed by it?
I would. I'm only on chapter 2, so I don't want to fully recommend it and then get to like chapter 3 and be like, oh, I take it back. But so far it's good. I'm a pretty slow reader, so by the end of 2020, I will have a decision for you on whether to recommend it or not. But yes, so far I would recommend it.
Good. Hey, I just love what you said. I want to echo it. Just how you said, like, how you have time now. I think all of us can relate to probably the number one excuse I give for having a weak prayer life, or I hear from students for having a weak prayer life, is, you know, I just ran out of time in the day. You know, I'm just busy, right? And now we don't have that excuse. You know what I mean? It's you go and you're like, oh, I dozed off for like 15 minutes, or I started thinking about something else that stole my attention. Good thing I have the rest of the day to put my attention back on God. I think it's so easy for us and our students to look at this situation we're in and just think like, oh, what a horrible situation. We don't know what's certain, we don't know what's coming up. And you've taken this time and been like, no, I do know what's certain, and I'm going to go fully into what's certain, and that's God. I'm going to spend my time in prayer. Even whenever I mess up, I now have that time. I just think that's an awesome testimony and such a great approach to like this quarantine life we're living, this craziness right now. So I think that's awesome. Yeah.
So good. Just curious, Allie, who would you say, talk to us, somebody who's like influenced you the most, or who's had like the greatest influence on your life, spiritually speaking?
Yeah. So, I would say first my brother. He, like I said earlier, he brought me to Second, and just being within Second really changed my life radically. And that's where I really learned to have that personal relationship with Jesus and learn to see him as a friend and my savior, and not just some distant guy. And so my brother definitely has that initial impact of really bringing me into the church and kind of leading me to more people that have influenced me in different stages of life. There's people like Donica and Jay Gray who were there when I was in high school and just challenged me in a lot of ways. Like, I used to go up to the church and hang out with Donica, and she would give me all these different tasks to do, like, okay, go hole punch these or staple this. And it was in those small things that I realized, like, God is in the details and he really cares about them. And I'm a super detail-oriented person. And so growing up, it was kind of like, okay, well, how do I do this and be a part of the body of Christ if I'm a detailed person and not necessarily a super outgoing evangelistic person or whatever. And so that was good, and just something that was nice and encouraging in my life. But yeah, definitely, like I said, my brother, he has kind of been there along the way. And we went to college together. And so even now, like, if there's something kind of going on in my life, I will text him and be like, hey, can you pray for me on this? Like, this is what I'm going through. Or, hey, this is what I just read, or listen to this song I just heard. It's phenomenal. And so that's been huge for me.
It's so interesting that you mentioned your brother, because so many of us have siblings, and a lot of times when you think about like your sibling relationship, usually it's characterized by fighting or disagreements or arguing. And so I roll. So I would be curious, like,
yeah,
what would you say to maybe some students, how do you, because I'm sure you guys had your disagreements. So like, how do you work through disagreements? How do you allow him to have that influence in your life with him being your brother? How do you get past some of those disagreements?
So that's a hard question. And I think the hardest part about it is he and I are very much alike. And so if, like, growing up, our fights were always super, I guess they were like boy fights, because I grew up with an older brother. So, like, do not try this at home. We would like chase each other around the house with knives. I'm not even kidding. Yes. Like, we never hurt each other, but like, those were the things that we did. Or like, we played Mario Kart, and whoever won was like the king or queen of the house. But I would say that my relationship with him is very different than with my sister, and we are very different, complete opposites. And like, we could get in a fight and be like, okay, well, I'm done with you for the next 3 weeks. Like, don't talk to me. Don't look at me. You stay in your room. I'll stay in my room. And I would say the thing of having that sibling who it's hard to work with is just knowing that you love them even in the process. And that's hard, because at times I'm like, I'm not going to love her. I'm not going to be the bigger person, even though I am the older sister. Like, I don't want to do that. And it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, Jesus said to love your enemies. Right now, she's my enemy, and I'm going to love her. And that has been hard to kind of be like, okay, I'm going to choose to love you even when I don't want to love you, and even when it's super hard, and even if it's just a, hey, and then keep walking. Like, at least today I said, hey, instead of just ignoring you. Like, and putting in that effort and knowing that regardless, that the things that we actually care about and the things that actually matter, we say out of love and do out of love, and continue to grow in that love instead of just turning away from that and being like, okay, well, I'm not going to trust you when you told me this Bible verse or whatever because we had a fight. But it's looking past that and saying, I know that your intentions are good, and I know that your heart is good, and I know that regardless of what it is, we still have that relationship built on love and kind of sticking with that. But yeah, I will be the first to tell you that it is very hard to always love your sibling and always embrace them and pull them in.
Yeah. That's great. Hey, I got one last question for you, and then we'll get you out of here, okay? If you could give one encouraging word or a piece of advice for somebody, because you kind of have a different approach. You have been a second student at the North Campus. It's kind of cool. And you're also a staff member on second student. So it's pretty a unique perspective that you bring. But if you could bring one encouraging word or piece of advice for our second students at the North Campus, what would that be?
I would say that first is that your staff really loves you, and they really do care about you just beyond Wednesday and Sunday. Like, they want to know you on a deeper level, and they want to pray for you and walk with you through struggles and through celebration. And so reach out to them and just say, hey, I want to get to know you better. When this is all over, let's grab coffee, or, just being relational with them, because that, like I said, that changed my life and that changed my walk with God. And I don't know if I would be in the same place I am right now if it wasn't for people at the church pouring into me and really just being intentional with me as a student. But on a more kind of real Kingwood level, I would say being in Kingwood and a second student is hard. And it's hard to continue to walk with God every single day and not get brought into the things that are going on around you, not get brought into the things that your friends are doing or the things that you see other people at Cave Park or Kingwood or surrounding areas doing. And so, find that core group of friends that you know are going to tell you the truth, and even if it hurts, because they have your best interests in mind. Those people that want you to grow closer to Jesus and don't care if you're popular, those people that are like, okay, I'm going to tell you that if you do this, it's going to have consequences, and it's going to, it's not going to fully satisfy you, and being okay with knowing that just doing what everyone else is doing isn't cool. It's not going to matter in 10 years, 5 years, probably not even a week. People are going to forget because it's high school or middle school. And so that's my biggest thing, is find that core group of people that are not only going to push you to God, but encourage you to stay away from the things of this world that are super tempting and super easy to grasp in the season and area of life that you guys are in.
Yeah, that's good.
Such a good word. Yeah. That's so good, Allie.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you for sharing.
Well,
I don't know if we covered the, Allie, did you tell everybody what you do right now?
I did not. So I currently work on staff at our South Campus as a girls associate. So I am the Kelsey or the Shelby or Amanda, RIP. She's not dead. She just moved to a different campus. Sorry. I'm the
Awesome.
Amanda or whoever at the South Campus. And so my job is to hang out with girls and disciple them and pour into them. And I love every second of it.
Yeah, so I bring that up because I just think it's what a cool story. You grew up here in Kingwood. People invested in you. You were willing to let people invest in you and to grow. And what's crazy is God has brought you now into ministry, and now you serve at our South Campus, pouring into girls and discipling them and families. And what an incredible it's an incredible story, Allie. And we're glad you got to come on and just share your thoughts on what God is doing in your life. And
Thank you. I'm so glad that y'all invited me.
Yeah. Hey, you're such a blessing to us. We appreciate you so much.
Thanks so much, guys.
All right. We'll see you later.
See ya. Bye, Allie.
Dude,
that was so good.
that was fun. That was awesome. Hey, one thing that she said, can I just reiterate it? Because I thought it was so huge. When she was talking about prayer, she talked about being continual in what you pray for. Because, how often do we pray for something like just one time?
Yeah.
God,
so true.
Please just see me through this, right? Honestly, through this process with me, I've prayed the same prayer so many times, and that's been weird for me. I've been like, man, am I really praying for that again? And God's probably like, thank you for finally caring enough to pray enough, Yeah. And so I thought that was a good word.
Yeah, I think, David, that's a huge point, because I think the process of prayer too is something happening in our life. And so often we approach God with something we want to get accomplished. And so we're trying to see, okay, God, will you answer this because I want it? But we neglect the fact that prayer is also God doing something in our hearts and creating a burden or a passion or something in our hearts. And really, those unanswered prayers could be that testing of our faithfulness to actually pursue that and developing a desire in our heart to, what is our true desire and whatever it is that we're praying for. And will we be persistent about it? So it's such a good word.
So good, man. I loved it.
So good. All right. Well, students, we hope that you guys enjoyed this. And so good to be able to have some conversations with some people and be enlightened and be looking for more conversations to come. You got anything else, David, for him?
That's about it, man. We're all in this together, dude.
Yeah, dude.
We're all in this together. Hey, for real, we miss you guys. We love you guys. We will see you soon.
Peace.